Right, you know what, let's get straight into it and talk about the footy, since that's apparently what we're here to do. Obviously, after the Liverpool game, a lot of fans disappointed with the defensive style of football. Not all fans, but a lot of fans, still a lot, saying that it was a very, very decent result as well. I'm sort of firmly sat on the fence. That's where I'm most comfortable. So talk about this game then. A lot of people would say that going to Benfica away is quite a difficult away game. So do you think that Jose could be parking the bus in this one as well? I really do hope not, considering how Benfica have played in the Champions League so far. Last game, 5-0 to Bâle. Absolute shocker. Joshi, tell me, how do you think Jose's going to go at this one?
I was just first off, I was a bit disappointed with the way in which we played against Liverpool. I mean, that's as a fan, and I understand the pragmatism and things like that, but I don't think he'll necessarily do that against Benfica. I think against Liverpool, he showed the team respect because he knew they had that pace going forward, and they are a threatening team going forward. They just haven't really been finishing. Against Benfica, I think it will, as with any team, especially away in Europe, Jose Mourinho will play. He'll assess the opposition and then work out how to play against them. And then his primary thing that he'll do is nullify their threat and then work out how to take them down, basically. That being said, Benfica in Europe have been dismantled in their previous 2 matches. And even though they're at home, they're not in the best of form at the moment in terms of their last 6 games. I think they've only won 1 in the last 6. So I think we'll go there with a slightly changed side, and it'll be a bit of a slow burner, but similar probably to our last game, where we will eventually through the course of the game pick up goals. I hope it's not overly pragmatic, because I'm still feeling the depression of the poor, not poor performance against Liverpool, because they really didn't threaten, but it's more, as a fan, I was really hoping that we would lay down a marker. And I do think in this game against Benfica, it's, if we could get that 3rd win, that's 9 points, get out of the group early, and then you've got a couple of games to play with at the end of the group, in terms of rotating players and whatnot. Plus, we're away at Huddersfield this weekend, so it's not like a. Exactly. I mean, it's at home? Did you say?
No, it's away, but I'm saying exactly, it's a good point.
Yeah, they're a slight, again, no disrespect, they're a lesser team that hopefully not going to pose the same sort of problems as going away to, say, City or Tottenham, or, a slightly more difficult side. So I can see it being a slightly changed up team. We'll go for it, try and get that win. But as with any game away in Europe, Jose Mourinho always checks out, respects the opposition, because they do have certain players who can be a threat. And then from there, we'll work out the game plan.
Yeah, I think it would have been quite possible for Jose to sort of play in a very pragmatic style had this game not come straight after Liverpool, when he played in that similar fashion. And we've got Huddersfield coming up. I mean, no disrespect to Huddersfield, but it's not the sort of game where he needs to be holding too much back, I don't think, against Benfica. Howson, what do you have to say about Jose's style going into this one?
I don't know what sort of style he's going to play. I do think we're going to see a bit of a rotated side, but I don't think the players that we've got available allow us to be a pragmatic side and a team that... Look, this parking the bus thing has been way blown out of all proportion. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's on the onus of the home side to win games, and it's on the away team. I mean, we've been getting talked up about this Liverpool team. They keep to remind us that they finished above us in the table last season. So why are United expected to go and beat them on their own turf at the moment? I don't understand where that's absolutely come from at all. In this game, I expect United to go for it. This Benfica team is a Benfica team in name only. They're not the sort of strength that they've had in previous years. As we saw, we put Basel to the sword, and Basel put them to the sword. And it was 3. They did have a player sent off, but it was 3-0 before that player got sent off. So it's not a team that we should be worried about. It's not a team or a place that we should fear going. We just got to go and attack them, and we've got to go and play our game. And I think that we're going to see what we've seen in other games so far this year. I would liken this one to the Swansea game a little bit, where it might take a set piece, it might take an early goal in the first half, and then later on in the second half we'll probably run away with it, I reckon.
Yeah. I think you were right about it being blown out of proportion a little bit before. It's almost like one game against Liverpool and everyone's forgot the incredible attacking football that we've been playing so far this season.
Yeah, really have, mate. Comments on Twitter, comments on YouTube. People have just absolutely forgot that this Liverpool team's the great entertainers, apparently. Well, we've scored like 50% more goals than them, so I'm not sure how they work that one out.
Yeah. It's because it was
scored more goals than us. There's only one man that's scored against us. United are doing it at both ends of the pitch at the moment.
Exactly.
Regardless of what the tactics was at weekend, I just don't think the players put in a good performance. The fact that we had our worst pass completion of the season tells you that was the players and not Jose. Like, Jose's not going to be like, listen, don't pass to each other. Make sure about 30% of your passes go somewhere else. He's not going to say that, is he? That's not ever going to be in his game plan. So that's on the individual players to perform within the system that he sets up, and I don't think that they performed within the system that he set up.
John, we'll come to you in a sec. Josh is trying to get in. Joshy, go on, tell us.
I mean, the reason it's been sort of blown out of proportion, or there's been a lot of focus on it, it's overall, Jose does set the team up, but it's the first it was billed as the first test of this United side, and that's the first test of Mourinho, the first big test of the players as well. So it's not just a case of, I think, people necessarily blowing out of proportion from a Jose perspective, because I have seen, surprisingly enough, Neil Custis come out and say, why Klopp didn't take any risks either, and we've restricted their team to one clear-cut chance, and David De Gea saved it. But just from a fan perspective, it was our first big test, and it was billed quite, as a big test in terms of the top 6 teams, and we sort of went out and we didn't really impose our game, which I get it from a pragmatism point of view, but it would have been, and again, obviously the players didn't perform, so I think it's just that overall disappointment, which then people, as always, do sort of go over the top about, but I can see the sort of joined up thinking as to why that happens. Maybe
people will be justified for throwing their toys out the pram a little bit if he does it against Benfica. Personally, I cannot see that happening at all. John, do you agree with me, pal?
You know what? The gents actually hit the nail on the head. You see through all social media outlets, everybody sort of overhyping the state of what the football should be like on a Manchester United v Liverpool at Anfield. But, Jose Mourinho's been scoring goals. He's been banging. He's gotten his team scoring goals. They're getting results. I don't think fans should go and expect defensive football. Rather, what they should expect is a good result, or what they should hope for is a good result. And perhaps with a bit of biasness and a bit of greed, that is us being football fans, maybe we want to get a good result with a good performance. And I think this whole defensive park the bus was nonsense. I think Manchester United, of course, it wasn't a good performance. Don't get me wrong. We didn't go there with a fantastic performance, but we got a result. And while Benfica are sort of in a really bad state currently, especially in the Champions League, they haven't won any game. They were smacked by Basel and CSKA Moscow, respectively. So maybe Jose Mourinho might want to go there and say, let's solidify our state in this group and really take this win. Who knows? But the point is, it wasn't a defensive football. It was more of let's grind out this result and move on kind of style. And I respect that. It wasn't. I wasn't sitting there watching 90 minutes excited as hell. But don't get me wrong. It was a good result.
I'm just going to get in some comments now, see what people are saying below. Hamzawi says 1 point at Anfield equals happy days. Like I say, it's not shoddy. I think it is the way that we played that people are disappointed about, which I understand, but the point is the most important thing. Gurav says Doc Joshi is min. That's a bit of a compliment for you, Josh. We had another comment here from Governor Bandicoot. That's a great name. Win all your home games, draw your aways, and you win the league. What's with all the moaning? It's a very, very good point, Governor. Right, let's move on then. Let's talk about 2 players that I am very happy to see have travelled to Portugal. Very, very happy about these 2 guys going. Marcus Rojo and Luke Shaw both on their way. So should we expect to see both of those play, or either of those 2 play? I think that Luke Shaw may be more of a chance than Marcus Rojo with him coming back from injury, but I think that Rojo is the man that I've been most looking forward to coming back, and I think that he makes our back 4 look like a real top back 4 with him and Eric Bailey as the 2 at the back. Howson, can you see either of those 2 getting a game?
No. Luke Shaw was one of the worst players on the park against West Ham in the under-23s. He looks so far off the pace. It's actually quite startlingly bad at the moment. It's actually quite worrying.
Don't. Really? I didn't see any of it.
He just doesn't look good, mate. Like you when you see, I mean, to be fair, Phil Jones looked terrible at the end of last season when he came into the under-23s as well. He looked like he was like the 3rd or 4th best centre half in the under-23s when he came back last year. So maybe we shouldn't judge it too harshly on that. But I don't really envisage him coming in and doing much at the moment because he just looks shocking, man. He just looks absolutely shocking. There's no two ways around it. He looks unfit. He looks like he doesn't know what he's doing. I worry for him, to be honest. I think he's probably going to need a loan somewhere, maybe even championship level loan to get his confidence back and to get him back in the swing of things. Because he's not going to get it playing on the 23 football because the level's garbage. Marcos Rojo, back at last season. Absolutely fantastic partnership with Bay. Thought it might have been too much hot sauce. It was just the right amount of hot sauce. It was absolutely quality. And I would like to see it again because I still don't think, as much as we've seen Jones do well there this year, no one's really took that. I mean, Bay's the first choice all day long, but no one's really stood up and become that second choice. Jones is playing well, but everybody knows, don't we? All of us are thinking it. Every tackle he goes into, everything that he does, we're all like, is that him injured? Is that him injured? Is that him done? Is that him? So I think there's still the opportunity for someone to come and get that left-back spot and that left-sided centre-half spot. It could be Shaw and Rojo. It really could be both of them two guys. I just don't think it will be them two guys.
That's a very good point, actually. When Rojo comes back, he could come back and start playing left back since Phil Jones is playing so well.
Yeah, but he's garbage at left back. He's a brilliant centre half.
I completely agree, but it wouldn't be something that would surprise me if Jose did. John, what do you reckon? Rojo, and hearing that about Luke Shaw as well is pretty shocking for me. Is it the same for you?
I think Luke Shaw, irrespective of confidence or any of that sort, I think it's still too early to bring him into the squad. Maybe having him get last 20 minutes as a substitute coming on to sort of wrap up the job, perhaps. But I think overall it's still too early for him. A loan wouldn't be a bad idea, but the question being, is he going to get some game time during in this game against Benfica? I don't think so. Rojo, I think he just kind of traveled with the squad for the sake of traveling with the squad. He did play in the Portuguese league prior to joining Manchester United, so who knows? Maybe he's got some sort of connection or friends there. So I think we don't want to look too close into it. Maybe just kind of be accepting of it if Luke Shaw does come on. But besides that, I don't see any of them really getting some solid game time.
Joshi, with Rojo coming back, is he a player that you want to see get straight back into the lineup? I mean, if that's the case, how does he get into the lineup? Because Phil Jones is playing so good, but this is what I've been saying to people. I feel like it's sort of like a Chris Smalling situation where he was in such good form, and one game they're going to remember who they actually are and start reverting back to how they were.
I don't think that Rojo comes straight back into the side at all. I think look at Howson touched upon it earlier. Only one player scored against us in the league. We're defensively we're rock solid. De Gea is obviously playing his part in that as well. And Jones and Bay have developed an understanding. So Rojo's got a lot of work to do to get back in the side, especially after a long-term injury. There's going to be a rehabilitation time, which he's obviously got through now, but he's now getting back to match fitness, match sharpness. So it'll be the sort of smaller games that he'll probably come into, and then we'll see how Jose Mourinho sort of makes that decision. But it'll depend on Jones's form. And so far, you can't drop him. In terms of our first choice, I wouldn't drop him. He's been not flawless. Nobody has, but him and Bay have been excellent for us this season. Whether it's an injury or whether he just suddenly hits a blip in form, that'll be what makes Rojo come in. So I can see Rojo getting game time at left back to build up his sharpness, although again we don't like him there. It's going to be, and this is a good problem for us in the fact that we've got Rojo, who's obviously last season came into it as a very good player for us, and Jones is also performing. You've got Bailly, who's obviously a top class player. We've seen that, and Lindelof as well, who's he's going to take time to settle, but there's a reason we invested that kind of money in him. So there's good options there. And look, Smalling's done all right since in the side when he's come in. With Luke Shaw, I think there's a fundamental mental issue there, not in terms of mental health, but in terms of not just attitude, like he doesn't care or whatever, but it's this mental strength. I was talking about, I've talked about it before, and I've written feature articles about it. There's a distinction between the players that really make it at elite level and the players that just can't quite do it. And we've had quite a few of those at United, where it's that mental strength, that step up into that kind of scrutiny, that level of that size of club, that sort of level of intensity that we require. And we see like Ben Foster was one that he came in with a talent, but he just sort of looked to crumble under the size of a club like this. Diego Forlan had issues. He couldn't quite get it going at United. We've had players like that in the past. And I think that Luke Shaw it looks like he's one of those guys that he's just not quite going to get there. And he's had issues with this sort of, people have questioned his mental application in the past in his previous clubs at international level. It's a running theme throughout his career. And to try and bring that round at a club like United, we don't have time to sort of mollycoddle players through. So that, I have a feeling that he's just not going to quite make it. I don't doubt his talent. We've seen how good he can be. But whether he has that capacity to come back is an issue.
It's a shame. I completely agree with you, Joshi, and it is a real shame because I've been sort of banging the Luke Shaw drum, but I think we've already got past the end for him now at Man United. I don't think he's going to have much of a chance to redeem himself. Just a couple more comments before we go to a quick 30-second ad break. Hero Pogba says, Liverpool played their best game this season and still can't beat us. Sorry to go back to the Liverpool game, by the way. Well, yeah, mate, we were outside the ground and, you had Liverpool fans walking past us shouting, Mourinho's crap and Mourinho's this, Mourinho's that, and United are this. And I'm like, wait a minute. If we're so bad and we've just played so bad, how come it finished 0-0? How have we both come out of the game with the same amount of points? Ludicrous. Silence comments saying, I want Fellaini back. I tell you what, I think a lot of people would have thought that's the case. And then in that Liverpool game as well, I think that he would have had a potential red card in him, but I think he would have made a difference. However, I'm just really waiting for Paul Pogba to come back into this team. That game wouldn't have finished 0-0 if Paul Pogba was on the pitch. Right then, we're going to go to a 30-second ad break. Dead quick. You might get it, you might not. We'll be back in a second. Right, we are back. Let's talk about your starting 11s then. We've been doing like a starting 11 sort of league, a predictor league almost, where everyone's just trying to predict the squad and whoever's got the most points at the end of the season. Is there a prize, producer Chris? Anything? Is he shaking his head? Respect, that's what you got. That's your prize. Respect from producer Chris. I'm just looking at the league table now. McCall is still winning it. We need to do something to change that. But the nearest person to him on this preview is John Shin on 29 points. So if you get 11 out of 11 today, John, you're there. You're joint top. So we'll see what can happen. And we need someone to get 11 out of 11 today because I've been looking through this. The only people this season that have got 11 out of 11 on these predictors are opposition fans. Nick from West Ham Fan TV. And very annoyingly, Paul from the Redmen TV as well. So one of you needs to get it today. So tell me, what do you think Jose Mourinho will start with against Benfica? John, tell us your team, mate.
You're going to have to give me one quick second.
Okay, tell you what, we'll go to Joshi then. We'll get Josh's team first, and then we'll come back to you, John.
Nah, I'm good to go.
What's he doing?
Why? What's he doing? Oh my God, look at this! This is brilliant!
I'm good to go. All right, so I'm gonna give it to you guys. All right, look, I didn't really have a time. I wasn't gonna really discuss tactics, so I thought I'd reintroduce this bad boy with the starting 11. So I won't touch too much into it. I let the lads speak a lot, so I'm gonna go a little bit into it in terms of the starting 11. Obviously, you got David De Gea in goal, Chris Smalling, Lindelof at the back. You have Ashley Young and Blind as fullbacks with Matic and Herrera as your midfielders, with Mkhitaryan in the middle. Lukaku up top, Martial on the left, and Mata on the right. And now the reasoning as to why I lined it up like this is because I think Herrera and Mkhitaryan, in fairness, had a poor game against Liverpool. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't the greatest of performances. And I feel bad for Ander Herrera because he's constantly having to sort of prove himself time in, time out, season after season. He's always getting sort of ousted from the starting 11 and having to usher himself back in. I think this is a perfect opportunity to sort of showcase his abilities once more. One game that came into mind in particular was the game against Liverpool at Anfield in 2015 when obviously Juan Mata scored a banger. And the three that really made the combination work, I don't know if you guys can see due to the glare, but that's Antonio Valencia. And the right back in combination with Ander Herrera and Juan Mata had a really, really good combination play. The one touch was really good. They left just the right amount of intensity, both on and off the ball, and we need the same from them. We can't let Benfica find the crack of hope in between, our one misplaced passes or one error or things of that nature. We can't respect Benfica in this regard. I think due to the current state that Benfica are in, we need to exploit that. We need to make sure we get a solid win so that we can just kind of take that position on top of Group A and make sure, we can sort of give ourselves that cushion room. And, I'm not going to touch too much into the tactics, so that's pretty much it for me.
John, I need to ask you something, right? At the time of recording, what time is it where you are?
This is 6 something. Now it's 7 something, but yeah.
Right, it's 20 past 6 in the morning where John is. Right, it's about midday where the rest of us are filming. He's more prepared than all of us. It's outrageous. I demand that from everyone for the next preview. Everyone. Howson, tell us your team, pal.
I am going for a little bit of a slightly rotated side, not a completely rotated side, because I don't think we've got the fit manpower to be able to throw in a totally rotated side altogether. And I think we also still have to be aware we are going to Benfica away. We're not playing them at home, where I think he might be a little bit more adventurous. So I'm going to go with a back four of Ashley Young and Blind at fullback, Lindelof to get a start finally, alongside Smalling. I think that's good enough defence to deal with what Benfica have got, especially when you've got Matic and Herrera in front of them. And I think those two need games together. We saw them against Liverpool. Obviously, there was a little bit overrun. There was a little bit outnumbered. But they've also not really played together either. And I think that's something that can really help in a midfield partnership, that knowing look of when to go and when to stay and who's picking up who and that sort of thing. So I think while Pogba's out, while Fellaini's out, these two need to form a formidable partnership. And then I think once you have Pogba back, then you've got the potential of having them three as a midfield in the bigger games. And I think that's a very effective, potentially effective midfield. Up front is where I've gone with a little bit of the rotation. I think Mickey was poor at weekend, so I would drop him. And that is a drop in, not a rotation. I would drop him and give somebody else a bit of an opportunity. And I would go with Lingard, Mata and Rashford as a forward three, with Mata in the 10. But you can also play Lingard in the 10 as well, because he's actually pretty effective when he's played in the middle like that, rather because he's not a winger. He actually really is effective as an attacking midfielder or as a number 10. And then the guy that we can't drop at the moment, and that's Lukaku. He's got to stay up front. Very interested to see when Zlatan returns and how Zlatan returns. This is the sort of game that I see Zlatan getting minutes in, to be honest. If Zlatan was available, I would have played him in the 10 behind Lukaku, just for a giggle, just to see how it would go down.
Yeah, I don't think Zlatan would be too happy playing behind anyone, to be honest, but we'll see. He played there for Sweden a bit, actually. What is the interesting point there, I think, is dropping Mkhitaryan. It's something that I've kind of been wanting for quite a bit. I mean, earlier on in the season, I was sort of saying, like, is it just me, or is Mkhitaryan playing badly, yet racking up assists and getting the odd goal? In the last game, was it against CSKA? I don't even think he was that great, to be honest. And I think it is about time that we drop him and stick Mata in there and see what he can do. Joshi, tell us your team, pal.
Very, very similar. So I've got De Gea in goal, Young at right back, Smalling, Lindelof, Blint, Herrera, Matic, Mata, Mkhitaryan, Rashford and Lukaku up top. Now, there's 2 points. First of all, Young. This is a Young playing up wide right against Liverpool is an indication as to Jose Mourinho's sort of approach, okay? And that's one negative for me on his card, because why did we change a forward line that has been performing so well with Mata out on that right-hand side? But I bring him back to fullback, which is where Young has actually been performing quite well this season. And the other point is, yeah, I agree. Mickey probably should be dropped, but I just don't think he will. His European performances have been good. He knows that he's pretty much been effective in those matches. And I was playing around with the idea of bringing Lingard in for him, but given it's a prediction 11, I think he will play. Obviously I might be wrong, but that's that. But yeah, I think that's the side that I've gone for.
It's just not the same when you've not all got Sabutio tables out and made little players. That's kind of what I want from everyone from now on. Right, should we talk about Benfica then? We touched on the form a little bit. Does anyone have anything extra to add about them? Because I know Howson said before that they're not like a classic Benfica side, really. They're far off that. Joshi, do you know anything?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're not in the greatest form. They're still third in the league in Portugal.
There's only 3 teams.
I think they're third, yeah. But they've got a striker who's in form in Jonas. I think he's got about 9 goals in 11 games this season, which is pretty decent. They've got a bit of threat in Eduardo Salvio.
Sorry, I'll just get in there. I've just read online that Jonas is injured, so that could be a bit of a result for us. Yeah,
so I mean, ultimately, I don't think that they've got a huge threat. But again, you've got to respect the opposition. You're away from home in Europe. The stadium can be quite, not intimidating like a Galatasaray intimidating, but they should make noise. We're a big deal coming over to them. It's going to be a big game for them. So we just got to, I think, guard against complacency, trust in our ability, and I think it will I think again we'll see a patient performance from us, and that'll be a feature of our matches this season when we come up against inferior opposition. And much like against Liverpool, we were very patient, but they didn't do anything for us to take advantage of. But I think in these games we'll be patient, and ultimately we'll get the goals that'll get us the win.
Nice one, John. Do you know anything about Benfica, mate?
Oh, well, I mean, I did some research yesterday in terms of stats. I really haven't had the time to watch their game. I did manage to catch a bit of the first half of their game against Basel and a bit of their first half against CSKA Moscow, and they looked off the races in both games. Defensively, they were kind of all over the pitch. Midfield didn't really have a grasp into the situation that was the capitulation they were being delivered. So I think Benfica really haven't had the greatest of starts in the European European competition. So I think this is our opportunity to capitalize. And I think Howson hit the nail on the head when he said we can't go in there, looking to sort of open up places and be a little bit more adventurous. But I think with that being said, Jose Mourinho is definitely he's going to keep that in the back of his mind that Benfica aren't doing well at all. And, you look at likes of Pizzi, you look at likes of Jonas, you look at even like Zivkovic and all these players that have been putting up stats in the Portuguese league. But in the Champions League, that kind of Champions League in its own entity has a separate form table. You can be playing extremely well in the Premier League and out of nowhere in the Champions League, you're doing a whole different thing. So Benfica also might have been, having two different tell of the tales essentially, but I think Jose Mourinho should go out there. This is my personal preference, is that we go out there and sort of be a little bit more adventurous than normally we'd ask for in terms of getting a pragmatic result.
Howson, anything to add? What? Don't tell me to wait. We're in a rush. We need to be finished by 1:30. What do you want?
I had my mic mute, so I couldn't get the page back up with it on.
Keep it muted.
They play a 4-4-2 a lot of the time, but they also tried a 4-1-3-2 as well. They like to play possession football. They like to keep it on the ground, but they're just like really weak defensively. It's like they have a really wide shape and they just allow people to run through the middle of them. They concede a lot of chances created. There's going to be goals in this match. I think they'll attack us. I think there's a good chance that they might score as well. But I think that we're going to outscore them. I think Lukaku's going to have an absolute field day against them.
As soon as I heard you say that about the defence, I thought that. Lovely. Right, dead quick, score predictions. Joshi?
4-0.
4-0 away from home in Europe. That would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Alison, what's yours?
3-1.
3-1. And John?
I'm going 2-0 with a Matic goal.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to say 2-0, but you've robbed it. So I'll say 1-0. I think it'll be quite a patient one, but I think we'll get there in the end. Right, thank you very much for watching. Hopefully it is a bit of an improvement with the performance against Liverpool, against Benfica. Oh, it's just good to be talking about the Champions League again. Anyway, get in the comments below. Subscribe to us as well. We're trying to hit 500,000 before the end of the season. And yeah, we'll be back next time. See you in a bit. Laters.